Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Cameron Krueger, Managing Director at Accenture. Thanks for joining me, Cam.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, and I appreciate your festive background there with the lava lamp. I mean, it's not quite a fireplace, but
it's the best I can do on the second floor of a 115-year-old house.
That's perfectly fair. I think a fireplace would probably be irresponsible on the second floor of the house. But thank you again for joining me today, Cam. And for those people in equipment finance who might not be familiar with yourself, do you mind just kind of talking about your career to date?
Sure. Talk about one of my favorite subjects, me. So, happy to do that. I have been in the equipment finance space for 30 plus years now. I really fell into it like a lot of us did by chance. A friend of mine called me with a technical issue at a company called Link Scientific Leasing. So those from the old Chicago leasing network will know that one for sure. And they had a problem, and I was working, as a freelancer, and came in and helped them fix it. And they offered me a job, and that's how I got, introduced to this business. And then, went and worked in industry for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, and then I've been consulting for the last 20 to the industry. And it's been, a fantastic ride. I don't think anybody ever says, hey, I'm going to, go to college and study to be an equipment finance person. But, it's worked out pretty well for me and for a lot of others. And I've had a fantastic opportunity to meet an incredible group of people. I was just on a foundation call, I guess yesterday, and I was, we were reminiscing about, how the industry has evolved over time. And so it's been really fun to watch it and to, know that these people for, some of them I've known for 30 years now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably first met at an Ops and Tech conference, and you always did one of the state of the industry. And I always kind of looked up to you as one of the true SMEs of what's going on in the industry, especially from a service provider perspective. And, I think one time I got you to come to speak at one of my OSG user groups.
I love doing that state of the industry talk. I had such fun doing it because, you just kind of get into the spirit of that. And you can read from people's faces what was resonating and what wasn't. But that was those Ops and Tech conferences were wildly fun. And I do have pictures available for sale if anybody wants to buy some of those. They're blackmail worthy pictures. And I think you're in some of them. I know you're in some of them. Well, we'll just keep that between. There's a classic one of you. Yes.
Oh,
I can edit. I'll keep it secret.
The good thing is I have editing control over this, but I won't do that because that would not be fair. But yeah, sure. No, I mean, I'm an open book, so throw them out there, and hopefully I don't get canceled.
Nope, not doing it. It's a different time.
It's fantastic. When was the last time you've done one of those state of the industry?
I think the last one I might have done officially. I mean, I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
But the official one for Ops and Tech was probably one of the New Orleans conferences that was it for me. I think the committee decided they were tired of hearing me, so they didn't invite me back again.
Well, I'm not on that committee, but maybe we can do something about that because I thought they were very informative and you had fun with them. So that's great. And another thing I wanted to touch on there was I didn't realize you were on the foundation, but everyone I talked to on here, no one studies for this. But when you can go to a school and actually talk about the industry from a guest lecture perspective, I did my first one back in February here at ASU, and that was fun.
I have been fortunate enough to be able to do some guest lecturing. I don't know if people on this call will remember a guy named Wayne Grew, but Wayne was a long time industry participant. He lives here in Illinois, and when he kind of retired from equipment leasing, he started teaching a business class at one of the local colleges here, and he invites me in once a year to come and talk to him about the thrills of management consulting.
So moving from a leasing company to consulting, like talk through that, if you don't mind.
Well, I always treated my time when I was really an ops and tech guy when I was in industry. And so I always viewed that as trying to solve problems and trying to get to a solution, whether it was something through technology, through operations, through processes, whatever they were. There was always a problem to be solved, something you could make better. And that is kind of an inherent trait, I think, in management consultants, is a desire to be a critical thinker around a situation and what can you do differently, whether it's trying to open a new market or speed up a process or think about a new technology landscape. So all that problem solving is something that's kind of always been in my career. I like to tinker with things. I like to fix things. I was telling you about that second lava lamp way in the background. I fixed it twice during COVID. It's just fun to solve problems. And that's an inherent part of being a management consultant.
No, and I enjoy that side of consulting and coaching. However, my fix to a lava lamp that's broken is Amazon. So I'll just leave it at that.
They were hard to get during the pandemic. I had to fix.
It's perfectly fair. I'm sure I would do something and it would blow up in my face, but whatever. But so as far as like Accenture, do you mind just kind of introducing your organization?
I could talk about Accenture all day long. It is about 700,000 people globally. It's a massive organization. It is a very interesting firm to work for. And I worked for Capgemini and I worked for Deloitte, and they were both good places to work. But the depth and breadth and I've worked for myself in my own firm. I've seen the 2-person firm when Steve Burns and I started Northern Consulting to the 700,000 person firm, which is the largest. It's amazing how many different talented people I've come across. But Accenture, really divides itself into kind of 4 big buckets: strategy and consulting, operations, technology. So operations is like business process outsourcing and things like that. Okay. Technology, so that's kind of systems integration work, PMO, and digital. We're the largest digital agency in the world now. We have just renamed the 40 companies that we've acquired in the past couple of years under one umbrella called Accenture Song. So that's all the interactive and digital work that we do. So you see commercials. We might have produced those commercials. Who would have known that, a management consulting firm is, in the production business, for example? But it's amazing. So when you say, tell me about it, I could tell you all sorts of things. We're in 19 different industries and things like that. But for me, the most incredible thing is, one, my little practice, which is about 1,700 people globally, can span into any industry. So, we can go work in yellow iron, we can work in aircraft, we can work in draft capture credit card equipment, and those in our world are all aligned differently in the organization. So we get to be a horizontal across all of them, which is really cool because you get to see so many different things. And then the second part is, if you want to find somebody that's an expert on fleet management or securitization or a new, accounting rule, there's probably someone somewhere that you can find that knows something about it. We were, on a technology, we were just replying to an RFP today, and it involved one technology that came out of Europe that I had no experience with, and was able to reach out to the European part of my practice. Got several resumes on it. We have experience in it. We're able to talk lucidly to the customer. So it's that breadth that Accenture can bring that I find to be really, really interesting. And, the market seems to like it.
Yeah, because that was going to be my question, as opposed to based on your industry relationships and just your knowledge of equipment finance, like why work for a bigger organization when you could potentially do it yourself? But that makes complete sense.
Ability to have, an A+ team helping build, and this is another thing, like fixing, building,
Right.
Accenture really wasn't in this business 5 years ago. And we are fully in it today. And I'd offer that, it's the leader in management consulting across those four verticals that I talked about, in the world today. You can't find that breadth of experience and talent in very many places.
Thank you for that. So Cam, from a trend in the industry perspective, are you seeing anything that's kind of glaring? I mean, obviously, I don't think you were at the executive roundtable, but the economist that was there was really, it's almost like pessimistic, where it's like, why'd I listen to this? or it was like, oh, inflation's here and it's not going to go back, so just get used to where it's at and hopefully it doesn't go up anymore. But regarding just like industry trends, anything you'd like to share?
Well, I am encouraged, actually, in the industry. I think the industry, at least according to what I'm reading on the association website, is going to grow a little bit faster than the economy. The momentum monitor is moving in the right direction, and history has proven that we're always really, really resilient. In 2008 to 2011, equipment finance performed really, really well in that time frame. And when the rest of the market came back, we were an early, harbinger of good things to come, because we bounced back really, really quickly. And the economics of the industry, even in a rising interest rate market, compress margins a little bit, but it also drives more business our direction, because people are looking for alternative sources of capital, and they're looking for lower payments, which leasing, as we all know, is a perfect vehicle for doing that. Yeah. So I'm not put off by, the rather dismal economic state that may have been spoken about at that meeting. But yeah, I'm always optimistic about this industry, because I've never seen it really, really struggle. And we had some problems in the early 90s, but we bounced back from that really, really fast too.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like there's been a lot of entrance into this space over the last, I don't know, 5-7 years, just because it's been performing so well, and people have been, the low cost of funds and everything else. So if anything, I think it almost trues up the industry, where some of those new entrants are going to either be consolidated or they're just not going to be in business anymore.
That's a cycle that, we've seen, every, 7 to 10 years of new entrants come in, they get gobbled up. Very few of them go away, but the entrepreneurs that started those come back and they start another organization. And one of the big differences in this economic cycle, let's say a 15-year economic cycle now, is that banks have stayed in the business. We really haven't seen a lot of banks exit the business. And in the first half of my career, they were in and out like a revolving door.
Oh, okay.
And maybe that, is part of the GE effect. I don't know. Now that we don't have to, sort of be afraid of GE Capital gobbling everything up, banks have decided to stay in that market, and the industry's evolved. So I don't know. I remain optimistic.
Got it. No, that makes complete sense there. And if anything, I think even more regional and community banks are looking to still get into the space, which is crazy.
and regional banks, credit unions could get into the space if they decided to deploy that, though they're very heavily consumer focused, and if they decided to shift that very customer centric consumer focus to something in the commercial space, it would be a nice challenger to see in the market.
No, I think it'd be a fun disruptor. That's for sure. Want to switch gears a little bit, if you don't mind. When you're doing the consulting on the systems side of the house, One of the things that always intrigued me, and one of the reasons I went to Lease Team at the time, was Aspire was an end-to-end platform, right? I mean, I think Odessa had that came out first, like these big monolithic systems. Like, where are you seeing the systems kind of go? Like, do you think that an end-to-end is still a priority, or just need to be best in breed and do lease accounting?
That is a fantastically good question, because this has been rattling around in my brain for the past year or so. And are we shifting back towards, monolithic, very focused solutions? So if you think about originations, servicing, collections, in some case, end of term could be their own. We, for the longest time, were, you got to have an origination systems and a core, lease and loan accounting system. Vendors came around, they mashed them up, and they said, here's a product that works for both. And people bought that for a while. I don't think that the market, at least as we're seeing it today, cares so much that they have an end-to-end solution. And I think that's because on the origination side, the curated customer experience is really hard to get out of a commercial off-the-shelf solution, particularly for very large organizations. For smaller organizations, you may be willing to sacrifice something, and you may be able to say, my originations solution only needs to be this big. If you're one of the, monitor 25, your origination solutions probably has to be pretty big and pretty creative. And the demand has shifted from just an originations experience and a customer experience to highly curated, and it's being driven by the experience that we get out of retail. So we're all humans, we're all consumers, and we all have mostly fantastic retail online experiences. Or actually, I shouldn't say online, I should say omnichannel, because omnichannel still exists, still a great concept. That shift has really, I think, pushed the commercial off-the-shelf integrated end-to-end solution back a little bit. Yeah, you need to be good at invoicing and posting cash and doing, the stuff that is necessary to, I remember Marty Zimmerman used to say to me, the only two things you need to care about are that we can invoice and post cash. Those are, if you can't do those two things, you can't do anything. And so, we need to get that done, and everyone knows how to do that now. You don't derive competitive advantage from that anymore. So, it could be a little race to the bottom, but we could talk about that in a minute, why it shouldn't be a race to the bottom. And I see a big shift coming back into saying we really want to pay attention to originations and the curated customer experience, because it's not just originations anymore. It's self-service throughout the entire life cycle. I remember we used to be afraid to give people buyout quotes, because we thought, the customer's going to go. We're not going to know they're taking a buyout quote online. And, we've evolved from that. We're a kinder, gentler industry for the most part. We don't, I would say we don't as an industry, but some of the things that were non-customer friendly, we've moved past, and we continue to move past it.
Well, I think some of that stuff comes down to the competition in the industry too, because if you're going to be so tight over that data, and someone else is not, because they want that customer. So,
right. And that's one of the, sort of taking that another step. That, you talked about data. The monetization of data comes back to who owns the data, and comes back to how the equipment is now changing. That the equipment that we lease in this industry is very connected nowadays. The whole IoT, the Internet of Things, is not just a 3-letter acronym, it's real. And who owns that data, and how do you store and process it? So when I talk about that back office becoming a commodity, there's where it doesn't become a commodity, and there's where there's an opportunity, I think, to be a really fantastic operator of not invoicing and posting cash, but a really fantastic operator of how do I manage that data and how do I make it work either for me or for my customers or both? Because, we've had copiers that plug into, an RJ11 phone jack for 25 years. But that was just the beginning. Now you think about everything you touch can be connected to the edge somewhere.
Not only that, so it's like, let's stick on that data point if you don't mind. So when your access to data is king, right? Because that's how you do your modeling, forecasting, everything. It's your customer data. Now, if you throw that on a cloud somewhere and don't let customers access it, I see that as a quasi challenge.
I think that's, you're doing yourself a disservice. Letting the customers access it creates stickiness. And
Yes.
You want to be able to write that next deal, the renewal with that customer. There's a leasing company in the Nordics somewhere that has, and I don't remember their name, but they have on their website, so you can lease equipment from them and they allow you to manage it online. Okay, that's nice, convenient, good, very customer friendly.
Yeah.
They also allow you to go on there and enter all the other equipment that you have leased through somebody else. You can put it online and you can use their tool to manage it. So that does two things. One, it creates a very good sense of transparency with that leasing company.
Yeah.
Wow, I can put my other data on there and I can then see all my, I don't know, laptops that are expiring in June in one place, even though I get them from, 3 or 4 different lessors. It also gives that company an opportunity to say, hey, I see you've got a bunch of laptops expiring in June. How about we proactively make you an offer to buy those out with newer things, in May, and allows them to get ahead. So it's, customer centric, but also the data benefits the lessor as well as the lessee.
So do you think, I'm sorry to stick on some of the software stuff here. Do you think that there'll ever be like a true usage-based lease accounting platform out there?
Usage-based lease accounting platform?
Like almost pay as you go. Like you don't need to make a sizable investment to, you don't have to write a check for a couple $100,000 to implement a system.
Sure.
From a user perspective, module perspective, it's like, hey, you have this many deals this month in the system, it's going to be X number of dollars.
I think, I think that, there are definite players in that field today. JDR is one of them that, sits out there and gets the, you can be small and be on their system. And a lot of people, when you think, and I wouldn't be surprised if the software vendors start getting into that business. The problem is scale, right? So if you've got a single shingle person that is, writing 100 leases a year, they can't afford to go license something, but they also, let's say $10 a month to service those, might be too much for them. And it's not enough for those, to say, okay, I'm going to have 100 deals at $10 a month. I need to have a lot of customers like that. And so that's why, you see the evolution of people, partner with their financial institution, then maybe go into, someone that provides BPO services. And as they get bigger, they might take it in and bring it in-house on their own. There's been little solutions in the market on and off over the years that allow you to kind of run a leasing company on your PC. But, it's not your core competency to be doing that. It's your core competency probably to be selling as a lessor. And all you got to do is make sure you can invoice, post cash, and, get the tax and accounting right. And you should outsource all that.
Yeah. Well, hence one of the reasons why going to JDR was an attractive, offering, because
I mean, they made a business out of it for decades.
Yeah. And then now we're agnostic. So from a software platform perspective, doesn't matter what system they want to go on.
I totally get that. I mean, we're a bit in the same business, just different scale. Where we'll stand up a equipment finance company for somebody that does is doing $1 billion a month. And, we have to find 300 people in, Accenture land to run that portfolio. And I mean, those things happen.
Yeah.
And you kind of see it more and more. You're probably seeing it too, that as some of the legacy vendors in the market are sort of announcing end of life to their solutions. And there's at least 4 or 5 legacy solutions that have announced end of life.
Well, even some of the dot releases that are a full conversion, that's same thing.
Right. And if you're, and if you're, I don't understand sometimes how the software providers price their economics to the point that you force an existing customer to go look around in the market. Because we know that when you implement a system, in almost every case, you're in it for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Everyone does their 5-year cost analysis.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, you're being really conservative because you kept your last one for 15 years or 20. You're probably going to keep this for a long time. And so, I think that's, you would do anything to get that existing customer onto your current, major rewrite platform. But that's only for those that are rewriting. Some of them have announced end of life of, being out of the, think of the ERP providers, they're just exiting the market.
Yeah.
So if they straight up leave the market, then you have to find something else to support your business.
Well, that, and if you don't make the path easy enough for a customer, the cost of it going out to RFP, the sales process, what you have to invest in it, and then God forbid if they actually leave you, over what?
It is perplexing to me as well.
Coming from that business, I understand. I just sitting on this side where you can take more of just a holistic view of everything, and truly be agnostic. It's just whatever system fits the business model. You shouldn't have to bastardize the system to meet the customer needs. The system should already do the majority of that.
Yeah, but legacy users longtime users of any system, I shouldn't say legacy, have a way that they want to do business. And we're working with a customer implementing software today where they had 26 major modifications that they narrowed it down to that they needed to make to the software before they could be up and running. And it was really fun to work with the vendor, software vendor, because the software vendor and us, we all sat there and said, how can we help this customer figure out how to do what they want to do without needing to make 26 modifications to the system? And it took some time, it takes some cajoling, it takes some thinking creatively to think of different ways to do what you've been doing, reimagining the business, but we got it down to 6. So 6.
Well,
enough number.
Well, and it's great that you guys are able to step in and be that referee, because I think of some of the non-successful, I don't want to say a project failed, non-successful projects that I've been a part of in my software days.
You've never been a part of an unsuccessful project. Let's just be clear there.
Well, people sit there and they're like, oh, it's the sales guy's fault. And it's like, no, it's just unrealistic expectations of between the software vendor and the equipment finance organization, because they don't have that middleman Cam Krueger coming in and saying, does it really need to be 26? X, Y, and Z are doing it this way. Do you really need to be that special and do it this way? And it's just put all, egos aside. What can we do here to make this a successful project, to get to an MVP or to something?
Yeah. We have this saying, you never get to version 2.0 if you don't get to version 1.0. Right. So, if you never, you got to try and implement the way the software provider wrote it. And if you don't like the way they wrote it, you don't license it in the first place. But, if you like it, license the solution and put it in the way it was designed. See if you can rework, anything that's a non-competitive advantage item to just fit, and then start creating that 2.0 list day one, because that then gives the users at least some hope that something that they really, really are attached to will ultimately make it into the way they do business. And they might discover after, running version 1.0 for a short period of time that might be
not that
better.
big of a deal. Not
Right.
not that big of a deal, and you don't have the project fatigue, because that's a real thing.
Yeah, sure is.
So I just want to switch gears to the ELFA, if you don't mind, because obviously that's how we originally met. I want to say it was probably Ops and Tech in, I don't know, 2006. I want to say that was my first Ops and Tech conference. But what does that industry, mean to you, Cam? Or not industry, that association?
Well, I mean, it's a between the association and the foundation, they're fantastic resources. I really wish that we could go back to pre-COVID times when we were able to, if you wanted to go to 3 conferences a year, you could go to 3 conferences a year, and you could knock them out and network with people and learn new things. You have to choose a little more carefully today. Maybe that will change, but I think there's a great deal of information to be learned. I think it's really important to, just like when I was really young and naive in the industry, to get in there, get your people in there so that they can begin to build the same networks that you have, learn what you've learned, and contribute to the greater good of the industry. So in Accenture land, one of the biggest parts of my budget is how to get people to conferences. Because travel dollars are hard to come by, even in, a massive organization.
I was going to say, really, in Accenture, it's hard to, okay. That's interesting.
We have budgets like everybody else, gotta.
My ignorance at play here, sir.
Gotta be responsible to the shareholders.
Well, I mean, you were so successful over the last 18 months doing it without traveling. Why should you justify traveling now?
That is an argument that is frequently being used. Yes.
It's so annoying, because it's like they don't understand the industry. They truly don't, because if you're not going to be in front of people, now with Zoom and everything else, traditional, like maybe where it was a 3 to 5 call close, I don't see that being the norm anymore. I think you can do a lot of qualifying over Zoom and Teams.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, when you want to do business or you're going to sign a 6-figure contract with somebody, you got to get in front of them.
I think so. I don't, it'll be interesting. We are, I was telling you about this RFP that we're responding to today. They want us in person. And if we could have delivered, we went through orals today. If we could have done our orals presentation live, we would have been much happier about it. So.
Yeah, and we're implementing a bank now in your backyard, and we're starting the discovery next week. And they were like, remote or in person. I'm like, our people are going to be on site in Chicago.
Good.
I don't know what the software vendor's doing, but I'm like, nope, we're going to be on site.
I know who you're talking about, or at least I think I know who you're talking about, and they're very forward thinking on in-person, face-to-face. So, and it's a high quality move, I think. I mean, there's some element of quality about being able to say, I don't need to sit in front of my, computer in my flip-flops and gym shorts all day. I'm willing to come and have a face-to-face with you. And when I met that client for the first time, their desire was face-to-face, old school face-to-face. And, they're not old school. They're a young, thriving organization. So I thought that was, I think it's really high quality. And I got out to see a client this week, and it was fantastic. Room of 25 people and faces and interaction and everything. I'm going to get back there.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you go back to that 26 modifications example, right? would you have been able to get away with taking that to 6 remotely? You know what I mean? There's certain.
That was
oh, you did it remotely. Okay, no, let's not talk about that then, because we're working on budgets here. So
could have gotten it to 3 maybe if we'd been in person.
No modifications whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I think it goes back to, if you're not going to make that human capital investment and being in front of somebody, building that relationship, somebody else eventually will.
Yep. Totally agree that if you don't do it, somebody will step in and do that. And that's why I'm optimistic about the association and conference attendance coming back. Conference attendance was really good in October for the annual. I think it's going to be great again this year. And I hope to bring at least 5 people to it.
Well, excellent. Yeah, I mean, the funding conference in your backyard a few weeks ago was extremely well attended. So that was great.
Nice.
So I'm trying to think. So were you on the Ops and Tech Committee at one point?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I chaired that.
Okay, maybe you were chairing it when I was on it. I just remember.
Yep, I've served on Ops and Tech. I've served on the board. I'm chairman of the foundation. Ops and Tech is a great place to start and get to know people. I grew up with all those people then in the organization. As a service provider, making it to the board is, pretty much as high as you're going to rise up in the organization. And that was really, really enlightening. It was really fun to be part of that. And, those are lifelong friends as a result. So.
Excellent. Well, I ask everyone who comes on here, Cam, a little fun fact about themselves, other than the fact that you can reconstruct a lava lamp. Anything else you'd like to share?
A fun fact about me. Well, I was born in Hawaii.
Oh.
And
you have a birth certificate though, right?
I do. I was born actually in the same hospital as our former president.
Okay.
And our birth certificates look similar, but not the same. But regardless, I was born there and lived there for 9 years. And people always thought I was named after the king of Hawaii, King Kamehameha, because my name is Cam. And Cam is short for Kamehameha in Hawaii. Now, you'd think that might be cool as a kid, but in fact, it's totally uncool, because cultural appropriation still is a thing, but it was a huge thing in Hawaii in the 60s, right after it became a state in 58 or 9. And so, I kind of blame my parents for getting me in that. Oh, and they gave me a Hawaiian middle name. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's 6 letters. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. It's 6 letters, and 3 of them are the letter A. You'll never get it. It's Walaka, Walaka. And it was challenging. And I said to my parents, "What's Walaka?" And they go, "That's your grandfather's name, Walter, in Hawaiian." And I said to myself forever, why would the Hawaiians have a translation of Walter? I don't get it. So I was always skeptical of it. Of course, my parents also said Cameron was named after a Scottish uncle. Well, there's no Scotsman in our family. So they made that part up too. But I was in a convenience store in Hawaii, at like a souvenir store where they have all the little bike license plates you can get. And there it was, Walaka Walter. It's a true fact.
I was going to say, it sounds like the Jimmy Buffett song, like the Malacca. But,
Nope.
Well, that's interesting. And thank you for sharing that. Otherwise, I would have been obsessed and would have had to go find it, because I believe you've signed some things, Cameron W. Krueger.
Yep.
So I think that would have given me at least a starting point.
I am not sure that you can go online and find the balance of that, but I mean, you don't have to anymore. But
No, but thank you.
fun
Otherwise,
challenge.
I would have had to edit like something and then like put it over the top.
His middle name is Walker.
There it is. Well, excellent. I guess my kind of closing question here, you know, of all the different consultants in our industry, Cam, why should they come to you?
Well, thanks for that question. You know, I think what we talked about, sort of the breadth of capability that we can bring to our clients, is unparalleled in the market. And it's not just me. I mean, we've got a lot of people very similar to me that have slightly different twists and bends on where they've come through the market. But our leadership team is very, very strong. And we can deliver really an end-to-end solution to whatever the problem may be. And since we have the opportunity to see so many different types of equipment finance companies every year, you know, we bring a really, really interesting perspective.
Well, and plus they get to do business with you.
Well, so, you know, it's a plus and a minus, but hopefully it's a plus.
I see more pluses than minuses.
Excellent.
Are in the fact that you might take photos and bring them up like 12 years later, apparently. Yeah. So just have to watch that, folks.
So luckily I don't have edit capability, because I might be holding that. And I'm just gonna say you're totally innocent in that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll leave it at that. But I really appreciate your time today, sir. And
certainly happy to.
I'm trying to think. Will you be at Ops and Tech in September?
No, I hope to send people to Ops and Tech in September, because I think that's a great way to explore the market and start to build a network. But I'll be at the annual for sure.
Okay. Well, hopefully our paths cross before then. But if not, I look forward to seeing you in October.
Well, when you're in Chicago next, let me know.
Will do, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, Cam.
Talk to you later.
Bye.